don't care who's wrong or right. I don't really wanna fight no more. It's time for letting go.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for American Lunchbox Podcast! Woo! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's your favorites on the podcast land. We want to welcome you back to American Lunchbox Podcast. This is episode 16, by the way, for all of you guys who are keeping count. For those of you all who are not keeping count, those of you all who are not keeping count because this is your first one you're listening to, thank you so much for listening. And if you're coming back, always thank you guys for your support. We love you. Please hit the subscribe button down at below one. If you're downloading from your podcasts, whatever you listen to podcasts, make sure you download. Go over to YouTube, type in American Lunchbox Podcast, and you will find this group here. And who are we? We are official voters. I have to say, first and foremost, before we get started, I should say, ladies and gentlemen, this will be a longer show. Okay, I just want to put it out there. We have not decided to do a show based on the fact that of what the American people have been going through, and we didn't want to take away from what had been important. And basically, we had nothing to talk about because, other than lamenting with you all, we had no results. So, what I'm asking you all to do now is go get your coffee, go get your brown liquor or your wine or your red wine. If you're listening in the radio, turn it up, but don't be surprised if you hear things that are not what we usually talk about. And secondly, if you're listening at work, please try not to shout out. Don't cry out unless you're cheering for us. Okay? So get what you need because we're about to give you what you need. And that's a dose of American Lunchbox Podcast. Hold on for a second. Hold on. Shit, man. Hold on, guys, for 1 second. Fuck, man. Hold on for 1 second.
This is a bit?
Hold on, guys. This is bad. Hold on.
Uh-oh. What, did he find some ballots that he forgot to turn in?
He's going into battle mode.
Is he going to jump off the roof because his tax is about to go up?
Oh. Got to have his cappuccino. Can't do a show without caffeine.
All right. Okay, with all that fucking talking, I forgot my own espresso for today. In about an hour or so, I'm going to decide if I need another one or some brown liquor. So hopefully you guys, I didn't mean to interrupt the podcast. Yes. But
it's been a long week with a lot of empty feelings and a lot of substances left to fill the voids at times.
Yep, and that's what we've needed. So listen, Chris, thank you guys. Hello. Thank you so much for coming. Tim.
Hey.
As always, we enjoy seeing the Iceman. Thank you for coming back.
Welcome inside welcome inside my new studio, by the way.
Oh, wow. Look at this guy.
Did you like this? I cleaned out some crap downstairs and got a nice little thing. I haven't decided if I want to keep the green screen or if I want to do something, like that. I don't know. We'll see.
Wow.
I know, right?
It looks different than the green screen, whatever it will be.
Well, we'll see in post.
Right?
Wait, why is there a giant penis right there? Good job over there, Tim, on your man cave. We've known that we've always heard a little bit of extra noise effects on your end when it comes to what people are hearing, but we are glad that you are settled in.
There will hopefully be no more people in the background. There are no more people doing dishes. Now, I am under the house, so you might occasionally hear a toilet flushing or something, but until we're big mega stars and I can afford a nice soundproof studio, this is as good as it gets right here.
As long as the toilet pipe doesn't leak on your head, we should be okay.
That's it.
That'd make a great thumbnail, so.
That's it. All right, so guys, let's talk about what's been going on. First of all, I know we do shout outs at the end, but I got to give a huge shout out to the American people right now. Huge shout out to all the American people, regardless of whomever you've decided to vote for. Both sides put in a hell of a fight to get where we are. Not at any point in American history, up until Reconstruction, 1876, have this country ever been so divided with who and what ideology and philosophy we wanted to run this country. And more people voted this time than both in 2016, 2008. So, there were a lot of voices heard. And I want to, before we get started, to say just huge, huge shout outs to everyone who actually went to the polls, whether you went to the polls, mail-in ballot, unsolicited ballot, just so thankful that the process actually worked. And, at some point, at the end of the day, we have to look back here and say, finally, it's over, but really, is it over? Is it really over? Is it really? Are you guys feeling, Chris? How are you feeling? Is this thing done? I mean, what are your thoughts?
It's just going to be a long month. It might not be juicy for the show to say this, but it's just going to the courts, and it's whatever we did is out of our hands, and whatever it's up to a few lawyers now. It seems like it's an uphill battle for Trump at the moment. Got a number of states to flip if possible, but it's not even worth, I don't think, arguing over what would flip if it could flip. We could talk about the details, but doesn't make sense at this point to get upset about it because we have no more control over the situation.
Tim, what say ye?
Well, yeah, I agree with Chris on that one. It's definitely an uphill battle for Trump. He doesn't have a lot of he has a lot of emotional evidence. He has a lot of thoughts about what could be, and there's always possibilities that there was some shenanigans going on, but really there's just very little proof. And I think the justices, even the most conservative judges out there, I think the Supreme Court kind of threw him a bone this week and said, okay, we're going to set these ballots aside, or you're allowed to have more poll watchers or whatever be there to watch the counting. But I don't think they're going to stop anything. I don't think they're going to take anything away from or give anything to Trump or anything. It's just, here's the most we can do with what evidence you've provided. So I think right now, I think there's really not much they're going to do. And even the Supreme Court, even as conservative as it is, for them to overturn an election right now that's already been called, and that would be it. That's a hard road right there.
Right, and it's not about the current sway of the emotions, it's about the legal stuff. So I mean that's one thing that that's the difference between legal and news, is that it matters what the evidence is. So look, we got a month. It looks like it's a tall order. Looks like it's based on a pretty emotional response, but evidence is needed. Whatever evidence there is, let it come out. We got time. Do a recount of the tight states, and January's coming sooner or later. So remember, just like in California, we have something here called the stop signs. We have the California slow and go, aka no cop, no stop. George, I think you know what I'm talking about.
I definitely know what you're talking about.
It's not a matter of if any fraud happened. It's a matter if you can prove it at this point.
Well, I'm reminded of 2000. Shall we go back? Some now 20 years ago exactly, by the way, my friends. 2000, okay? Bush Gore, Chads, Florida, legal, Supreme Court. Nothing changed.
Well, the other thing a buddy of mine told me, brought up that I had totally forgot, is that it was Gore who dropped out. It wasn't that the court, it all happened at a decent time because Gore conceded, and we don't know what's going to happen with Trump.
So
that's not exactly true because sorry to interrupt. That's not exactly true because the Supreme Court stopped the recount in Florida, and by then it was like, okay, that's all we can do, and then Gore conceded after that.
But if this recount was stopped here, would Trump concede? Maybe.
Fuck no.
No.
Trump is never going to concede. He's not going to concede this year, next year, the next year. On his epitaph, when he dies, it will say current president of the United States. You fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I think for the emotions of the people who are the supporters, because as much as people hate Trump, there are 70 million people who really like him. And probably more people that love him than love Biden in the country. So for the sake of unification or potential unification, I say do whatever recounts are needed. Do not make the mistake of downplaying or dismissing or trying to brush this pile of people under the rug. We could talk about that more later, but give them their voice. Don't go with the media narrative on this one. Give it time to play out. We got 2 months. We ain't got shit else to do. We're all locked in the house in this shit year anyway. So I say you might have been tired of hearing from them, but give them their last couple months to say what they have to say, and let's try to calm this situation down.
Now, that's interesting that you say that. The last time this happened was during Reconstruction. Okay? Last time this happened. And the country was so divided because of a civil war. And ironically enough, the Republicans at the time won. And here we are again in a situation where we're looking at history, a divided country. It may not be a physical war, but it's definitely an ideology war. And we have to decide now as we move forward, what do we do with the thoughts and actions of those who voted, whether you win or lose, because somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. That's in football. It's the same thing. There's two sides of the stadium.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's about who's right or wrong in an election. It's about who's outvoted.
Exactly. It's not about right or wrong. It's about who wins and who wins by vote. And at this point, we already know that it doesn't take the majority of the votes to win, because that's how Trump won last time without the majority. So we already know that you don't have to get the majority of the votes to win, because Hillary got the majority of the votes before and he won. So, but the question becomes is where and what, for the sentiment of the people who voted for Trump, how do we unify, but more importantly, what is their message? What message are they sending?
Who sending?
The American people who voted for Trump, the losers.
The message that, okay, a couple things based on what you said. One of the positives that came out of this is that although the Civil War era was maybe more based around racial lines and greater physical boundaries, the difference here is that the divide is urban versus rural, and the suburbs seem to be split. The more outer suburbs are going with the Republican, and the more urban inner city suburbs are going with the Democrat. But this is much more, this whole century will be ideological battles much more than ethnic battles, which in a way is good, because politicians will pander to what they think their base is. And if they don't think their base is going to be so tightly around racial lines in the future, it'll actually just be a battle of ideas. And that's actually a healthy development, in my opinion. What do the Trump people want? They wanted Trump. They wanted a continuation of the positives he brought, the positives that the media did not talk about, which was no new foreign wars, a decent foreign policy for the first time in a long time, standing up to interest, domestic and foreign. They probably did not want his attitude to be as crazy as it was, because as much as the news portrays that all these people love everything he says, in reality, all Trump supporters I talk to would wish he could tone it down. So I see a lot of similarities in that people are afraid of the people on the other side, or they're afraid of what they might do. For now, for the time being, Biden is a real friendly guy. He seems to be toning down everything with his speeches, at least. But policy matters too. Everything might be somewhat cool for this, with Biden saying all this nice stuff, but if he tries to go with more lockdowns, if they try to ban guns, this is going to be on like Donkey Kong.
Well, I don't think that's going to be the issue. I think what's
in his policy. That's in his policy platform. Both of those are.
Well, here's the thing. The reason I believe that Donald Trump ultimately failed is because of his domestic issues, his domestic problems. If you don't take care of home, which he ran on, if you remember, he ran on that platform to win. And folks came out to support him because he put, quote unquote, America first. Now, ironically, that's exactly what failed him in this election, because he was so concerned with making sure that the economy, making sure that China, making sure that when it came down to handling domestic problems, Corona, COVID, he failed dramatically. Well, so that for me, and as well as the obviously the racial issues that we've been talking about, not addressing those properly. So when we're talking about what he really did in regards to what he said, he failed. Make America great. Making America great again means making the American people believe that he is a good leader domestically, and he failed dramatically.
Consider this, George. It looks like the exit polls have shown an slight increased boost of Trump amongst all minorities that you could think of, whether it be Latino, Black, Native American, Muslim, women. The demographic that he lost in the election is older, white, male. However, is it that Trump lost those voters, or is that we as a country have lost those voters due to the coronavirus?
What say ye, Tim?
Well, I mean, I think one thing with Trump is that, and this was a surprising thing just on election night that we really discovered, is that it wasn't a runaway for either candidate. You know, I think the Democrats expected Biden to walk away with it. Same with Trump, the Trump supporters. It was going to be, and I kind of went that way too. I thought it was going to be one way or another. I thought it was going to be a landslide, and it wasn't. It was a pretty even divide of the votes. It just that Biden came out just a little bit ahead. And I mean, I think that kind of just goes to show that, you know, how we misinterpret, you know, the voting population of Republicans and conservatives. And I think one of the things that they were talking about during the exit polls was that, okay, well, why did you vote for Trump? What was the reasons for it? And a lot of it did come down to the economy. They thought, okay, yes, you know, maybe he could have done a better job with Corona, but they didn't want to be locked down again. It's like if you have a small business, it's like they thought, okay, well, Trump is going to try to open up things, whereas Biden is going to just shut things down again. If you're a small business, you're thinking, oh man, there's no way I can survive on this again. I mean, I don't want to see people dying, but I also want my business to open. I also want to make money. I also want to have a living. I want to have my job. I want to have whatever. So I think that was the number one thing, is that they trusted Trump more with the economy than they did with Biden. And hold on, one more thing. Sorry. And that was the thing I was sitting there listening through all the different liberal media, was that it was a gut check moment for the Democrats, because they have to look at it and say, okay, there were 70 million people that voted for Trump, and we're still counting, but 70 plus million people that voted for Trump. Why was that? What did the Democrats do wrong? What did they not? How did they not get their message out? If Republicans thought that Republican voters thought that Trump was going to do a better job with the economy, then in the future elections, that's where the narrative needs to go away, or needs to change. Is that Democrats need to do a better job of explaining to the American public how their policies are better, how they're better for working class, how voting for them is in their best interest versus voting for a Republican, and that's where they have not done a great job at.
And 70 million people might rather take their chances getting and potentially dying of coronavirus than dealing with social justice warrior bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. I'm glad both of you guys mentioned that, because, Tim, what you said was not just a Democratic problem. It was a Republican problem. It wasn't just a Democrat problem. It was a Republican issue as well. Remember, about 8 years ago, Republicans went into a huge pod, if you will, to figure out how to attract more Latino and Black voters. I don't know if you guys remember this. It was a big deal because they said, oh my God, what can we do in order to attract more Latino and Black voters? It has been their mission. So it's not surprising to me that these efforts for Republicans now have, over the years, shown a higher result because of what they've done. They've reached out. And I've said this before on this podcast, and I'll say it again. Most Americans, whether they like it or not, when they go into the poll, whether they're secretly doing it or whether they're doing it on purpose, they vote their pockets. They want the money. Yeah, I'm sorry about the Black people. Fuck them. When it comes to my pocket, I'm sorry about the women. Fuck them. I'm sorry about abortion. Fuck them. But my pocket, I need my money because, again, we live in a capitalist society. And we know if you got dough, we know if you got capital, you can get more done, not only for yourself, but for your family and then your community. So it's not surprising that Black people now are seeing that the Democrats have been pandering to them all these years, false solutions, no actual laws to help them over the years. And number two, I mean, even though they won, I'm hoping that Biden and Kamala doesn't give us another fucking crime bill, because that's the last thing Black people need is another fucking crime bill. So it doesn't surprise me now, at the end of the day, even though they lost, they are seeing Democrats actually compete in places like Texas, Georgia, places where these were shoo-ins for Republicans, shoo-ins. But now Democrats are changing because the Republicans are also doing their work as well. So it doesn't surprise me that this race is as much close as it is. My issue is the fact that at the end of the day, there has to be a winner and loser. And to be honest with you, I don't know how white people are going to respond to this loss. I don't know.
It depends. I'll tell you, George. This is a long topic and maybe one suited for a whole episode.
I told the people already we're gonna be here for a minute, Chris. Let it out, man. Shit, we ain't got shit else to do.
There is a potential for something brewing on the right that is just as Trump tapped into the left-wing politics in order to stick it back to the left on a political level. What is potentially brewing now on the right is what we see on the left in terms of activism. And we have to remember that Republicans, conservatives by their nature are very orderly. When they try to, unlike Antifa, when they try to kick the mailbox and miss or stub their toe, these guys aren't going to miss and they ain't going to stub their toe. They're going to hit the target. So we have to be very careful from this moment on, in the media specifically, about how we treat these people. If you ostracize 70 million people, you are in for such a potential world of hurt in the future, because we don't know who was just inspired by Trump. We don't know what college kid is on a college campus and feels oppressed that they cannot speak their point of view because they're the only Republican on their campus, or they think they are, because of the censorship and the repression that is happening here. Also, to the Republicans, I don't believe in, just as I don't believe in what Antifa was up to, I don't believe in that shit we saw over the weekend with caravans and all that stuff too. You know what I'm talking about, where they were,
absolutely
blocking up roads and they were bumping cars. And the reason is this: anything the Antifa does, we know is going to get suppressed because the media in some ways agrees with them. I'm with the conservatives on this one. However, anything you do is going to be amplified. You're going to have to start acting like a black man driving through a white neighborhood on some of this stuff, or go balls out like they do in Europe. And then you just have people on roving gangs of activists on both sides. And I don't know if that's good either. So with that being said, I think a lot of this is going to come down to the way that the people are treated. And I think a lot of it is a class issue. And we could go more into the celebrations, what we saw on the street yesterday, and how we feel about that, or what that looked like.
That's right. Now, I'm going to say this to Democrats. Right now, if you're listening to this and you're a Democrat, I'm going to tell you to watch your backs.
Seriously.
Watch how you celebrate.
Seriously.
Mm-hmm. It's time to be calm. Now, I'm telling you all this, and now I'm going to talk to the Democratic blacks. The ones who I'm going to talk to you all personally, because
the caucus?
I'm going to talk to the caucus. The small group of y'all out there who are Democrats and your blacks and your Latinos all over this country. This message is specifically for you all right? You all have not seen, in this history of the United States, you have not seen a more wealthy, paid group of Republicans that have been pissed off. You don't know what these Republicans will do when they are pissed off, when they have money. We haven't seen it. We've seen Democrats do it. We've seen a lot of Democrats mad, and we've seen them do whatever they're going to do. And we've seen a lot of black people mad, and we know what they do when they get mad. But you all have not seen a group of white Republican men upset with money. And I'm telling you this, and you might think this is a conspiracy, but this is no fucking conspiracy, okay? I'm telling you, there are reasons why there are people who do what they do at different levels of an organization. You have your front runners, you have your trenches, the people in the trenches, and then you have your shot callers. Your shot callers are the ones you never see, the ones who fund it, the ones who trickle down money in different ways to make sure that the people in the trenches have what they need. So be careful when you go celebrating in the streets. Be careful, because again, you have never seen Republicans upset like this. And there's 70 million of them. And just because you thought that white women and young people on campus were going to support your efforts, they didn't. White women decided that they were going to go with their white counterparts, their husbands, their sons. And I'm telling you that these Republicans are not going to let Democrats forget this. So I'm telling you to be modest, be respectful.
And Jory, I think you're right in a lot of the things you just said. The only contradictory thing that we're all saying here is that it seems like the Republican Party is swinging, or trying to swing, more diverse and more working class. And some of the celebrations that I saw yesterday in my hometown of here in Venice, California, really demonstrated that. My personal example was I was riding my bike down Abbot Kinney, which is hipster land, essentially, yuppie land. I'll be nice and say that, but what I saw was this. I saw a lot of people at brunch, happy to be at brunch. I saw them looking down at their cell phone, but then looking up when very nice cars drove by honking their horns. I didn't see one downbeat car honking horns. I didn't see anyone. And these are all overpriced restaurants too. So the visual of people doing this, woo, while people in nice cars honk the horn. And then I walk 2 blocks away and I see a homeless woman digging through the trash, and she's talking to the other guy who's digging through the trash, and she's talking about how she went to college to be an English teacher. So we got a class divide here, and it's growing. And just as we could criticize Trump for saying he wants to go back to the 1950s, which had an underbelly of racism, we have an underbelly of the 2010 Obama era that was an underbelly of a social stagnation, a feeling of economic stagnation, and an underbelly that was about a class divide that was growing. So if we are trying to get back to normal wasn't great under that second Obama term. And if we are just this pile of people is too big to sweep under the rug. I get it that it looks like they have lost, and probably it's going to be the case, but it would be such a disservice to everyone involved at any level if we are going to pretend that this didn't exist or didn't matter, or that great things are back to normal. They're not.
What say you, Tim?
Yeah,
well, maybe they are.
I've got one question about that, and I don't disagree with you. I think that is actually right. That yes, we do need to take into account the 70 million people that voted for Trump, and take a hard look at the politics, and take a hard look at what, you can't just sit there and say, oh, it's all left or all right, or it's these reasons or that reasons. But why is it the Democrats have got to sit there and play nice? I mean, when the Republicans won in the last election, I didn't hear one word from Trump saying, "I am the president of the United States, not just the red and the blue states." That's it. We won. Fuck you. That's it. We're putting our policies into place.
Because this is unsustainable, Tim. So when 2008, I was in Manhattan when people were partying in the street, just like shown on South Park, with people hanging off of lampposts. And I was like, wow, people really love this Obama guy. I don't get that emotion about politics, okay? I'm not partisan. News revealed to the world, I'm an independent. Probably will be for life just because I'm kind of contrarian and don't like being in groups like that. However, that doesn't mean I can't swing one way or the other. And in 2008, I saw this love and jubilation that when Obama got elected, and I said, damn, people really love this guy. I felt so good for those college kids down there in Union Square. And in 2016, when the Trump people won, I felt so good for them because I said, you know what? They felt disenfranchised. They needed a W, and now they got one. What happened then is that the media didn't exactly portray, and other people didn't exactly feel so nice for them. As I feel like the other side kind of felt good for the Obama people, in my opinion, from what I saw, just being an independent. Now, hold on, George. Hold on. That doesn't mean there wasn't people against Obama. That what I'm saying is that the country was unified and that most people voted for him that first time. They did. He was elected by a lot of the same people that went for Trump. Hold on. What's happening here is that you had people who loved Obama. You had people who loved Trump. But no one loves Biden. So you have people cheering in the street that the other side lost.
Okay, all right. First of all, Obama represented something that we had never had, first and foremost, which was a black president. A lot of people jumped on board on that, okay? Yeah. And for all intents and purposes, he was the best candidate, okay? When Trump jumped on board, he came from an era of basically 8 years asking for Obama's birth certificate. Already, that's a problem.
But that's the game. That's him playing a game.
It is a game. But it's the reality. What I'm talking about, when Trump started his campaign, he started it with division. Build a wall. Keep the Mexicans out. They're rapists. This is how he started his campaign. So when you talk about Obama and you make a comparison to Obama in 2008 to Trump, now I think that something's wrong because we're talking about two different icons.
Not wrong. They're very similar figures, George.
No, they're different. They're totally different figures.
No, they're not totally different.
Let me explain to you why. Let me tell you why. Because you obviously, as smart as you are, should know already that Obama, what he represented, his whole campaign was based on hope.
And so was Trump's. Economic hope, so was Trump's.
It was make America great again. It was mega. It was the red hat. It was to go back to the 50s. It was to go back to a place where, as far as black people were concerned, put them in segregation.
Right. I get it. There are offenses that haven't been gotten over, and that's part of why Trump lost.
Hold on. I'm giving you the reasons why this comparison is not only idiotic, but doesn't make any sense. You're comparing Trump to Obama first term. Second term, I get it. Things were a little rocky. And for the reveal as well, I am also an independent. Okay? I am neither nor Democrat or Republican. So I also have the same sentiment in regards to politics as you have. Just as much as I am on Obama and things that I don't agree with, and I was very vocal about it then, I'm the same way with Trump. But again, we're talking about figures of history. We're talking about personalities. We're talking about the man himself. And I'm telling you that there's a polarizing difference between Obama because unlike Trump, most people, even if you didn't vote for him, liked him as a person. You didn't think for a second that he was an unkind, unfit human being to be on the planet, which unfortunately was totally different for Trump. People despised him personally.
But the similarities were the polarization. So people were People were polarized over Obama's policies, and people were polarized over Trump's personality. But they're both polarizing figures, and they're both rocks. Hold on, George.
Stop.
Let me get my point out, dude.
Hold on,
dude.
Hold on, because we're talking about...
They're both stars. They're both stars in their respective parties.
No, we're talking about 2008. We're talking about 2008 Obama. Mm-hmm. That's what your comparison was. Your comparison was not the second term Obama. Your comparison was '08 Obama. And I'm telling you, if you go back to '08 Obama and you go back to Trump's first election, which was it was in 2016, I'm telling you there's stark differences between the personalities of these two individuals. Now, if you want to correct that, I'll give you an opportunity to do that.
That's not the point I made. So you're making a point and sealing the point, but it's not the point I'm making. So
you're right the point that you just made.
You're right in the point you're making, but you're not right in terms of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when
you replay this again, you'll hear your point, and your point was '08 Obama.
It's kind of hard to get a point at if you're going to keep jumping at me. So I don't know if you've heard my whole point.
Go ahead.
I think that caffeine is kicking in a little too soon.
That's it. Unlike your president, I'll concede.
Ooh.
My president right now seems to be Biden. It seems to be yours as well. And
not for the next 75 days.
And just so you know, George,
days.
some people rock the shirt whether their guy is currently in or not. So some people realize they love the country again just when their partisan side is in. I'm not saying it's you. What I'm saying is that this started about who's happy about who's celebrating. What I'm saying is that I was happy for the Trump people and I was happy for the Obama people. So in that regard, I felt similarly that I was happy that one side that really was thirsting for a win for identity reasons got it. But I can't feel so happy about a group of people that I think might be using their emotions to riot and act a fool, but now they just happen to be dancing in the street. I can't feel good for those people. It doesn't mean I'm partisan towards or against them. It means that I can't not see that there was bad behavior on both sides here. And just because Trump deserved to lose, for some of the reasons you mentioned maybe, that doesn't mean Biden deserved to win. And that doesn't mean that Biden ran a campaign that was worthy to win. If you ever watched a Jets versus Bills games when both teams were shit. They played in the same division. The games were sloppy as hell. They won by a field goal. And guess what? Both sides, whoever won those games, both of the fans said, I think we really need to work on our team. So a lot of things beat Trump. And a lot of it had to do with him. All right, look, he stood at those coronavirus press conferences and held Mike Pence and everyone hostage. And that was an hour a day during a crisis. Okay? And other things related to the virus and other things related to his grievances towards personal stuff. It is the job, and Biden will be good at this, it is the job to calm down the other side. But Trump and Obama are similar in that they pissed off the other side. Obama because you might not be offended by this, George, but people in Alabama, Arkansas, they don't want to see some guy who's like a smarmy college professor. Hold on, George. It doesn't offend you, but it offended them. Now, Trump is the opposite. He's a boorish, shit-talking guy. But that doesn't mean he's a KKK leader. And it doesn't mean Biden beat him, because what happened here is that the media was able to paint this guy with 30 years of public exposure as Hitler or whatever. And in reality, that's a big issue, because what could they do to you? And I don't mean to pivot the conversation. I'm happy to stick on this conversation as well. But I just don't see this as a win for Biden. I see this as a slap against Trump by a lot of different influences, not necessarily Biden as a candidate. Well, and that's why this feels a little awkward.
Well, look at the Republicans that went up for Trump or went against Trump, the former strategist, the Lincoln Project. They weren't necessarily going for Biden. They just didn't like Trump.
But they're also now kicked out of their party. I mean,
well, yeah.
It's still Trump's party, whether we lost or not.
Oh yeah.
Which is also another weird part. How do you reconcile this? The Democrats are essentially two parties that don't know what the hell to do, and the Republicans have placed all their eggs into a cult of personality figure.
Well, let's go back for a second about.
Yeah, let's go back. I didn't mean to pivot. I'm just on a stream of consciousness, George.
Listen, and I can dig it, man. Now, let's go back for a second. Obama, because you brought Obama into this, not me.
What I'm saying is that there's similarities, and I'm willing to say what I think all those similarities are.
I heard your point. Let's go back to Obama. 08 Obama. 08 Obama was a really rough run for Obama because he had a lot of hurdles to jump, and we all agree, in order to win.
And he handled them well.
Let's go back to a couple of them that he handled. The first one he handled really well was the fact that he had to disassociate himself from his minister, Reverend Wright. Because
and
Reverend
Bill,
Wright,
and Bill
Reverend
Ayers and all
Wright,
that.
hold on, let me finish. Let me get my point.
No, go.
Reverend Wright used his pulpit as a political, much like most Christians do, use their pulpit as a political arena and talked about the treatment of white people toward black people in this country. We don't have any evidence that that's true though, right? But I digress. So what did Obama do in order to make sure that the American people saw him in the light of a president for all? What he did is he came out and he removed himself from his congregation. He spoke and he said, I don't believe the things that he said when it comes to this. The second thing he did was he disassociated himself from Mr. Louis Farrakhan. Farrakhan understood the reasons why and said, you have to be the president for all, not for just black people. And so as a result of that, Farrakhan released him as his brother and said, I understand. Now, when you talk about Trump not being a KKK leader, I'm telling you, he might as well be the leader. And I'm going to tell you why. Not because of his race. I'm not calling him a racist, even though I know he is. But I'm telling you, based on the fact that when it came time for him to denounce white supremacy, when it came down to telling white supremacists that there is no place in this country for you, he decided to what? So when I talk to you, okay, let me say it for the podcast land, because I know out there in YouTube you could see what I did, but he decided not to. He decided instead it was important that he keep his base. It was up to him on national TV in front of the American people in the first debate. He decided instead of saying what he had said, some people said he had said, that I had not heard, still have not heard yet, but
still have not looked for yet, still have not been shown by the media yet.
I've looked for it. I have yet to hear him denounce.
Really?
I have yet to hear him denounce. I've yet to hear him denounce white supremacy. I've heard him dance around the subject, but I have not heard him denounce it. Remove himself
I think
from it.
you're just behind on your news, George. I think you're just behind on your news, and I think the news has been heavily slanted against this guy. I mean,
no, I agree, because now the news, the media, I can't speak for. I can't speak for them, because that's a fight that they've been fighting ever since he became president. He talk about fake news, but he's the one who creates fake news.
Well, yeah, okay, hold on. That's a great point. Hold on. So there is a sick thing that has happened here with Trump, which is, and it's a feeling of being slighted and then correcting the record and then going one step further. So it's a ping pong, and you could say chicken or the egg sort of thing, but you have a situation in which the news made a claim about Trump. He felt it was unfair. He shot back and called him fake news. And then he also said a bit of his own fake news. The media, feeling that they have to correct the record, bring it back to neutral to correct what was fake about what he said. But then they also, this is the fucked up part, felt that they had the responsibility to go after him. And then in that regard, they became more of an activist than a journalist. And then they said something about Trump that was very political or very narrative driven. Then he shoots back, and it went back and forth like this. It was a sick tennis match.
Yeah, but it's 3 years.
This is not.
But this
5
is 3
years.
years.
It's been 5 years of that.
But this is but in regards to his presidency, I mean, it's been going back and forth. Yeah, it'll be 4 years. But I'm talking about the whole fake news thing. Now I know he has been. I know that since the whole birth certificate thing and being out in front and talking about the Democratic Party, but yet not claiming to be a Republican. But okay, I digress.
He's not like Mitt Romney. I mean,
yeah,
it's just different. Something's happening there.
I don't quite understand the steps that he's made, but whatever steps he's made, it has gotten him to this point, which is seemingly successful because 70 million people voted for him. So I can't decide that what he did necessarily was right or wrong, because then I would be making a judgment about the opinions of others. And everybody, just like an asshole, has an opinion. But more importantly, they also have a vote. And they stood up and stood out. So I'm not going to sit here and act as if there's people who don't see him as a figure. But to get back to what you were saying, and it's important, and I'm glad you brought this point, because I'm in the same thought pattern when it comes to Biden.
How so?
When it comes to Biden, his history of being out front is very little. We have very little history of him as a national political figure. So when it comes to him having the kind of fanship that we've seen in the Obama years and the fanship that we have seen with Trump being a television star as well before becoming president, that is the reason why I think Biden has little fanship versus it becoming a figure for the party. So
yes.
Most people voted for they voted for a Democrat. They didn't vote for Biden. They voted for a Democrat. And regardless of whomever they voted for. Now, me personally, I'm going to put it out there because I don't have a problem with this. I'm an independent. I've said this already.
He voted for Kanye?
I voted for Kanye. But Kanye didn't even know he was on the ballot, right? He was on our ballots out here in California.
As a VP.
As a VP. He was voted, and no, he didn't even know he was on the fucking ballot as a VP. All right. So,
George, I see what you're saying, but this is why I think Trump and Obama have some similarities in that they are both celebrities. And the weird thing is, for the first time in 12 years, we don't have a celebrity president. We have a Washington, D.C. politician. Doesn't seem very bold because he hasn't been out there and out front. It's just a different energy, and it's one that we're not used to having. It's not so electrically charged.
Well, maybe I think that's what we need right now, honestly. We just need a breather. Yeah. I think after Trump, who just sucks the air out of the room.
Sucks the fucking air out of the world.
Yeah, just dominates the news cycle. I mean, we've talked about that on this show about, where do we want to go and what do we want to do, and things that we'd like to be able to talk about. And Trump just dominates the news cycle and dominates everything. And it's like we'd like to be able to talk about something else, I think, occasionally.
And the crazy part about it is, Tim, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because as we begin to evolve in our trajectory of this podcast, but is Trump really going to go somewhere? Is he really going to? Most presidents, okay, hold on. Most people who lose go away. Have you noticed this? They just go away. They don't fight. They don't even involve themselves in the political arena. They write books. They get into nonprofit organizations. Fuck it. They just go away. They go to their ranches, but like the Bushes, they go to upstate New York, like Hillary, and they just fucking go away. But is Trump going to go away? And I'm going to tell you, no, he's not going to go away.
I would say maybe, and I'll give you some precedents to that. Sarah Palin. When Sarah Palin ran for VP, I mean, she was a rock star. She got a lot of press, and everybody thought, okay, after the election, after she lost, that she was going to get, they gave her own show on TLC. They practically gave her own network. And so they thought, oh, this is going to be a big rock star. She's going to come back and she's going to run for president in 4 years or whatever. And she's just slowly just drifted off into obscurity. So I kind of think that's where Trump might take a little longer. And he's going to go out kicking and screaming, but I think he's going to just slowly just drift away to obscurity.
Tim.
Or go to jail.
No, Tim is so wrong.
Tim, Sarah Palin was boring. Get the fuck out of here. Have you been listening to her more than 15 minutes other than her looks, which she was a cute white girl, don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? But she's out there in Alaska. There are no studios out there in Alaska. There's nothing to. She is fucking boring.
But she hit a note. She hit a note with Middle America. People loved her. People absolutely loved her.
And you're comparing her to Trump? This guy.
The question is not what. The question is, I don't think, George, is will Trump go away, because his life has determined that he doesn't go away. The question is, what venue will he go towards? Will he be into making money? Will he be into selling products on TV? Will he be into doing his hotel stuff? Or will he stay in the realm of politics?
I'm going to make a prediction. All of it. The man doesn't fucking sleep. The man doesn't fucking sleep. Are you fucking kidding me? That man is, I don't know what, he had the coronavirus for 1 week, bro.
It made him stronger.
It made him stronger. You hear
You know
me?
what?
Fed off
You
it,
know what
man.
happened at the end? I think, okay, besides the fact that I think, look, I kind of called it wrong because I said I thought he was planting seeds in that first debate. And I thought the psychology was strong, but that all determined on him getting that second debate, which got canceled due to his virus. So people started voting before they saw all the debates. That might have hurt him. However, just in general, in the way that he waited till after getting a virus to focus and go hard for a whole month, which I give him credit. I never saw him go hard as that focus for so long. But he is like in the romantic comedy when the guy goes to get the girl as the door's closing on the plane. Except he left a second too late, or he stopped at KFC on the way, and now the door's closed, and now he's hanging onto the wing. So,
which should be the icon for this episode, by the way. The
baby,
Biden,
come back.
Biden across the airplane and Trump holding on to it like this and shit. Because I'm serious, man. This guy is not going to go anywhere. He's not going to sleep. He's not going to eat, or he's going to eat, but he's not going to sleep.
He's going to eat.
He has enough money for him, arguably, to not do anything except for this. It's to fuck with the Democrats for the next 4 years, and I wouldn't be surprised if this idiot actually will try again to run. I mean, he's so unprecedented.
And
He
might
technically could. He technically could.
might win.
Yes, he could. It's unprecedented. This guy is not going to go anywhere. If Biden can hold just a bit of the attention of the American people for the next 4 years without this guy, which is debatable.
Well, that's the other thing, George. That's a great point.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Might not just be a temporary sleep. We're hoping, everyone's hoping it's not a permanent sleep.
A podcast land. I'm sorry, I fell asleep there. I had a reminiscence of Sleepy Joe. Sorry about that. I fell out. But
Let's hope he doesn't go to sleep permanently, because I think everyone wants him to stay alive at this point.
So
the hope for him. Have you ever had a hope that you just wanted the president to live?
Chris, I would hope that all of them lived until they had to die.
Right. No, has it ever been a genuine concern from day one that they might not?
I'm hoping that this guy is physically fit in order to live for the next 4 years. His capacity to remember is different from his ability to stay alive. I'm hoping that he is able to hold some of this information in his head enough to make good decisions for the American people for the next 4 years.
Oh, I think he will. I mean, he was in when he was under the Obama administration. He made a deal with Obama that he said he wanted to be in on every major decision. He wanted to be in the room where it happens, and he was able to do that and be one of Obama's biggest advisors. So I don't think he's just a puppet. I don't think he's just he's not just going off of the name or whatever. He's been out there and he's advised people, and he knows what he's doing.
Right. I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm saying, and this actually kind of, I think, is humanizing him towards Republicans. No one really dislikes him. He's friendly. It's hard not to like him. But also, it very much makes you humanize someone when you desperately want them to stay alive, which is now what the Republicans probably want more than anything. They want him not to die.
Are you saying that because you don't want the first black woman president?
Because Joe Biden seems, at least in his rhetoric, to be moderate, but no one knows exactly what's behind him or what comes next.
And as far as that, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to tell you why.
You want him to die?
There's a pregnant pause there, not because I want him to die. No, I don't. I don't want him to die. Let me just say that for the record. I'm gonna be poignant, unlike your president, for the last 75 days, I should say. No, I don't want him to die. But my point is we do know what he's going to do. before all of this was over, over the week, I had been debating. For those of you all out in podcast land, we didn't do our traditional show on the day that we usually do it because we were just waiting for results. And
flabbergasted.
Yeah. We were just over the top, and we decided as a group here to wait off till we got some kind of indication, some clear indication, or definitely a decision had been made. So over the week, we've been able to kind of go back and forth for our feelings and analyze things in a way that if he wins, then we'll do this. If he wins, then we'll do this, depending on if Biden wins or if Trump wins, what direction of the show that we would go in. But I came up with this idea that it really didn't matter. It didn't matter who won when it came to the direction, because the reality is that if Trump won, had he won, we knew we would get more of what we had gotten in the last 3 years, and we would hope for some kind of economic boost because he's going to force the country. But we knew this already. And if Biden had won, we knew exactly what he was going to give it, because all he was going to do is what he didn't do and with Obama. So for all intents and purposes, if you were an Obama lover, or if you loved Obama, if you thought his politics were good, it's the same era. All we're going to do is pick up where Obama left off. You don't think Obama's going to call Biden and say, hey, Bob, remember that shit we were working on, bro? I'll be over there tomorrow to talk about it. No, not that one. The other shit, yeah. And don't forget my cigarettes. You don't think Obama is calling? No, of course he's calling, because all Biden's going to do is pick up where Obama left off, because Obama is the one who's really running this shit, even if Biden is there.
And that's look, we talk about the bitter feelings, and we talk about how Trump was so obsessed and dismissive of Obama, but it's going to be hard for him now, Obama, who does have an ego, and for the Democrats to, we can't just throw out the baby with the bathwater, right? Like, his behavior was not good on a stage to the rest of the world. We all know that. Everyone knows that. But that doesn't mean that some of the policies he had weren't good. That doesn't mean that some of the craziness that he had didn't lead to good deals, and that doesn't mean he had a point. So yeah, maybe just as a civic responsibility level, it's not good to make the ranting town crier standing on the soapbox the president. But thanks to the two-party system, we did. Right. That doesn't mean the things he was crying about all the time were wrong.
Well, you brought up a good point about China. I mean, that was something we do need to stand up for China.
That's a great point.
We do need to sit there and take a hard look at our policies and not have them run away with stuff. Now, I don't exactly agree with the tariffs, because I think people got really screwed on that one. I think the American people end up paying for that one. But yeah, there should definitely be some kickback, or not just hand them the store or whatever. So yeah, I think in that he brought up some good points. But he was a bad ambassador for representing us. Okay, and that's really what the presidency is. It's a popularity contest.
All right. Listen, conspiracy. I'm gonna preface this statement with the word conspiracy.
The frogs are gay, people. They're turning the frogs gay.
Listen. You guys are talking about foreign policy. You guys are talking about China and what he did with China. But China gave us the coronavirus. So wait a minute. Do you think for a second that they don't know how a payback can be a bitch? You don't know that they are sitting over there talking right now about how we crushed the United States, how we got rid of Trump? Do you not think that they don't take responsibility for making sure that they got rid of the motherfucker who decided to make it hard for them to send things to America? Conspiracy.
I don't think
and it's not with, and I don't care if it sounds conspiratorial, because we should start thinking like that, and it's not outside the realm of possibilities. And in general, Trump, as much as people made him the great evil, or ding dong, the witch is dead, they're having a party now. In reality, he was just Trump. He's just Donald Trump. That's it. And we have so many more problems internationally and domestically, and so many more things to work on, or things that are greater evils anything Trump could have said or did, which we now have to really focus on. And I hope that people aren't just happy that Biden is in charge so that they could tune out, because it's great that everyone showed up to the polls, but we got real problems in this country. We talked about the social media thing. I think that's a big one, but also overseas. What China does to not only us but to other countries and our allies is really wrong. And we talk about Russia being villainous, but they don't have shit in terms of their economy is like Italy's level. It's not good, or maybe it's not good. But China's is good, and they're big, and they have a economic system that people feel like they should shut up with the personal freedom stuff because to get in with China with the economic stuff, and they enforce it. I'm not saying our country hasn't done some bad things in the past, but this is a whole different beast.
Well, that actually reminds me about, and that's a very good point, is that one of the big criticisms of Trump was that that he was sitting there and he was all buddy with some of these dictators and not really representing the country right. But I mean, look at how much we've been in bed with countries like Saudi Arabia, who have a horrible human rights record. Look. I mean, and we do it because they've got oil, and so we kiss their ass. And but nobody sits there and looks at that. No, nobody says anything about that. But yeah, Trump is the big evil bad guy for trying to at least talk to some of the foreign leaders and talk to some of these people. At least try to make some headway. He did, like I said, still did a crappy job with Kim Jong-un, but at least he talked to him. At least he tried to make some headway.
I mean, it's memorable. Whatever he did was memorable. No one knows what to make of that, but it was memorable.
What did he do? I don't know, but let's not do it again.
And again, we talk about much like our lives, and I say this because I have children, and I have 4 beautiful daughters, and I have to continue to remind them that no one will remember every day. It's the events, and not only the events, more importantly, who showed up to the event. They don't care kids don't care about who paid for it. They don't care about who decided that, it's going to be here or it's going to be there. Kids don't care about that shit. All they care about is, do I have a birthday party and who showed up to the birthday party? That's it. And that's all that they remember are events. And that's exactly what we're going to remember about Trump. The events, the shit like what he did in North Korea, the thing that he did for China, the thing that he did with the coronavirus. And I'm telling you, this, much like I said in the earlier podcast, before all of this shit broke down, we're going to go right back to business as usual. With politics, we got almost the oldest fucking sitting president. Presidents have actually lived through almost a prohibition. That's a joke, but you know what I'm saying. He's an old cat. So basically we're going back, right? Definitely through segregation, definitely through the Reagan years. I mean, this guy is old.
The silent era turns out not to be so silent. They just showed up late to the party.
That's it. That dude watched black and white TV, bro.
Yeah. Well, he's the first president from his generation, the silent generation. So that we had presidents from the greatest generation and the boomers, but that middle generation was his, and they didn't really do shit till now, I guess. They waited a long time.
And we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I know they got old money. That generation is infamous for the corporations. If you remember, they created a lot of corporations. It's a lot of old money in that particular that particular time period. And they were movers and shakers in the secret. I know the history. They're movers and shakers, but politically, they never pulled the strings out front. But now they got somebody. And I'm telling you that this guy is old. And I'm telling you, when it comes
breaking news.
The breaking news. And I'm telling you, he thinks old because he is old. And I can only hope that it doesn't translate to old shit.
That's an interesting question and our point. And I want to bring something up. We hinted at the person behind Biden, person next in line to Biden, which is Kamala Harris. Do you think Biden will be a one-term president? And if so, will he promote the next in line during the next election?
Probably just handing it to Trump in that case.
or a Trump-like person. Because I gotta be honest, I like Kamala as a prosecutor. I think during the impeachment hearings, I thought she was probably one of the best people that asked questions. She was a lawyer. She didn't ask stupid questions. She actually asked intelligent questions about trying to get information and trying to get people to get the information that people needed. And so I actually had a lot of respect for her. But when I saw her during that acceptance speech yesterday, I got to be honest, I was clicking fast forward, just get me to Biden. Well, I couldn't stand listening to all the ideology and the "I am woman, hear me roar" stuff. I'm sorry. I support people breaking the glass ceiling. But I think there's a certain part of me that goes, I'm tired of hearing it. I don't want it. I don't want to hear about that.
Well, you said the best thing right there is that, do you want to hear it? And I know a lot of people didn't want to hear Trump, and other people loved Trump. I just thought he was hilarious. If I saw him for the first time in a couple of days, I'd be like, that was my first reaction every time. With Obama, I might have agreed with some of him and disagreed with some of him, but I would listen to his speeches because he's so good at talking. So you almost learn something from a public speaking level. Listen to Obama or Bill Clinton or one of these guys. The issue that Hillary has and Kamala has is not just because they're both women. It's just because they're both look. Let me preface this so I don't get clip. This doesn't become a clip. There are women that are not like this, but in the case of Hillary and Kamala, you hear some of it and you say, I wouldn't want to listen to this for 4 years. Yeah. And part of it is this.
What is that, Christopher?
It's like Halloween's over. You could stop that laugh. So I think if it's a weird situation, you got a candidate who might not make it 8 years, and you have a replacement for him that is potentially so polarizing that people will consider putting Trump right back in there.
Now,
real quick, George, as much as you're saying people remember the moments with Trump, and we remember these shocking visuals, those Republicans, those MAGA guys, they remember how he stuck up for them when no one else would. So it's us that remembers these bombastic moments, but it's more of an emotional tie that people have to Trump on that side. And they wouldn't mind listening to him for 4 more years. They might start his re-election thing tomorrow.
Well, the thing is that he's not going to shut up for 4 more years. So they're going to still hear his ass. That's the problem. That's the problem. He's not going anywhere. But right. In response to what you said, Tim, is that that's interesting that you mentioned that. And I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't mention that, not because I think you're a sexist. I don't think that at all. But because I think, when we look at the role of the president, when we look at the role of the vice president, we could see traditionally the vice president really sits in the background. Mm-hmm. The question is will this vice president sit in the background? That's the question. Yeah. Now, for all of my Black listeners out there, right, we know already how Black women are. Now, you guys can't laugh at this shit, all right? You guys can't laugh at this shit because if you laugh at this shit, you're going to get some hate mail, all right? Yeah. And for those white people out there who are listening who are laughing at this shit, don't do it in front of Black people. Do it alone. But for Black people out there, y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know for a fact that when she gets that eye down like this, and for the people out in the podcast land, I put that eye down so that, jump over to the YouTube station so you'll see what I'm saying. But when she gets that eye down and she gets that narrow look on her face, she's not going to be quiet. She's going to have something to say. And that's because, of course, of her history and the fact that she feels like she has to stand up. Most people in that position feel like we can talk about this later. She don't feel that way. She gonna feel like we got to talk about this shit right now. And as a matter of fact, turn off the cameras because we're gonna have this back. We're gonna talk about this back here right now because I ain't gonna let this shit go. I'm not gonna let this shit ride.
You're describing a real Black woman and not a what I'm saying. Not that she's not really Black, but a real person, a straight up person. And unfortunately, she comes off as a disingenuous politician. Well,
we'll see. Because I've seen some clips of her, when she's taking off that little look, and we all know what that little look looks like. You know, you know already when you sit in front of an interview, you're in an interview setting or you're on the phone talking, you know, we call it in black land, black people, we call it our white voice or our distinguished voice. We say, hello, how are you? We put on, we know already that we have to sound a certain kind of way. Okay. And you
Code
all do it
switching.
too. Yeah, we know what it is. We all do it. We all put an extra on it. It ain't just black folks, it's everybody. But because I'm black, I can talk about it. But it's the same thing. But when we take off that shit, when we realize we have to, as Arrow would say, be somebody. For those people who know WB, of course. For Arrow, who you have to turn, right? For those people, right? You have to, on Arrow
Those
says,
500,000 people?
those 500,000 people, right? You WB, the CW, you know. For those of y'all who only, you know, 500 people, 500,000 people who watch
I think
the
those
CW.
people stopped are no longer teenagers, George. It's just you.
Oh, it's just me.
It's
okay.
just you.
All right. Well, y'all don't act like you got. Okay, maybe it's just me. Fine. Arrow, on the show Arrow, in the very beginning of the show Arrow, he says, I have to be something different. I have to act like something different. I have to be like something different. Right? This is what Kamala is going to say when it comes down to it. I have to act like something different. I have to be like something different. But the question still remains, will she be a traditional vice president who sits in the shadows, who we don't know what the fuck they're really doing? Who are they? Why?
No. It's not going to be like Dick Cheney. No, it's not going to be like that. I mean,
not Dick Cheney.
She's saying openly that she's
Cheney?
going to give her opinion, and Biden says he wants her opinion.
Wait,
and her
was that
opinion, like Tim said, happens to be pretty liberal.
Wait, was that the dude? Was Dick Cheney the dude who shot that guy in the asshole that we never found out?
I just think I apologize for getting shot.
Oh my God! But anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry about that.
No, that's all. It's just that, look, like Tim's saying, she is more ideological, and Biden has said openly that he wants her opinion, and she said openly she's going to give it to him. That's all.
Right.
Okay, I'm just hoping Biden gets a food taster because, you know, this ambitious young woman right behind him.
My thing, and the reason that I criticize the Democrats, and yes, I did vote for Biden. I'll come out and say it. I voted for him. My thing is, I don't want another Trump. And that's why I sit there and I criticize the Democrats. I don't want them to lose to another Trump. I don't want them to build. I don't want them to give birth to another Trump.
The next one will be more focused.
Exactly. Or know what the hell. Yeah, exactly. Know what they're doing or be more organized. And then that's when you that's when you have a real danger. But when Kamala comes up there and she's wearing the white suit, I mean, she's sending a message. It's like, you know, yeah, this is you know, identity politics. This is what I stand for. It's like this is what, you know, my administration would look like if I was in charge. So it's like that turns off a lot of middle class voters. That turns off a lot of the middle of the road, middle America voters. And it's like you've got to try to appease to that. You got to try, like I said, 70 million people voted for Trump. It's like you can't, you know, come too right to come too left. You know, you got to be able to sit there and, you know, the one thing, I mean, like Republicans are sitting there battling in the Senate right now, and they're sitting there saying, we're going to put a stop to the radical Democrats. And it's like, that's just the problem. If you cannot go, I don't know what radical exactly means in their definition. I mean, maybe anything that's not, you know, conservative, I guess, but
anything less than 20 clips, 20 rounds per clip.
Yeah, that's conservative. That's But yeah.
Oh man, keep the guns out of this. Keep the guns out of this.
But yeah, no. If you want to try to appease more voters or bring more people over to your side, or let people know that you're there, that you're in touch with, you know, the middle America. You're more in touch with it, with what's going on. That's what you need to do. But yeah, I think wearing the white suit and sitting there saying, you know, I'm supporting, you know, every ultra left wing liberal cause that's out there. I think it's gonna backfire for you.
Tim, I think this is too early, Tim. I think they're gloating. I think that they need to tell their base and everyone who voted thank you. And I think that this is how they do it right now, while they have the opportunity, while they're not sitting in the place where they have to be at the center. Eventually, we all know that you have to move to the center in order to be the American president that you are. It's what I've always said. I said this about Obama. I said Obama was a black president for one night.
Yeah.
When he, for one night, he was a black president. For one night, that day that he won and he gave that beautiful speech back in '08, he was a black president for one night. The morning that he woke up, he was not a black president. He was the American president. And he had to move to the center in order to do that. Trump never did that shit, though.
Well, yeah, just in general, the office is supposed to moderate your temper, your behavior, and everything. And he just, he can't be contained.
He can't be contained. And what do you do? What do you do with a character like this? It's like the character Doomsday. What do you do with the Doomsday? You got to pack him in, put him into a container, lock the key on ice, put him back, because this is the kind of shit that starts wars. This is the kind of shit that creates the polarization that we're seeing. It's like, this is it. And do we want this for our country? Remember, we're only one party out of fucking communism. Do we really want this kind of polarization?
Right, George, the packing him away is what in this case, what might actually cause the conflict. Because breaking American Lunchbox podcast news here, people. I have the pictures to prove it. When I don't have Twitter installed, so when I want to look at Twitter, I'll type in, let's say, I want to see what Trump's up to. Like, has he been ranting? What is he up to? So the night of the election, middle of the night, before I fell asleep, we're on the West Coast, so that's when everyone else was definitely sleeping on the East Coast. I typed in Twitter Trump, or Trump Twitter. I typed in both of them, actually. And what would typically come up first is his Twitter feed, at Real Donald Trump. That would be the first result every time. It wasn't that night. It went to his White House feed, and it went to whoever has the Donald Trump feed that just forwards to his thing. But that means in the middle of the night, and I haven't heard anything about it or any controversy. That means in the middle of the night, Google moved him down the list. And by the next day, he was back up. And that right there is a big reason he lost. Much like the picture of Julius Caesar with everyone stabbing his ass. Biden might have been in the picture. Maybe. Might have been one of those ones in the background like that. But the ones who did the stabbing was Trump himself. It was the media, it was social media, and it was an infrastructure who wanted this guy gone. And that is what will create a giant resentment. Because there are going to be people, regardless of what the vote total is, because it's close, we can analyze why it was, we can analyze these things when it's on points like this, is that there are people who feel like Biden didn't knock him out, but that a group of people, including the referees, knocked him out. So if we just hide him away at this point, that just validates or furthers that narrative that he was essentially suppressed. His message wasn't getting out there. When even that night where he came in and out and talked all that shit about how he was getting screwed, the news places seemingly coordinated, all did the same thing, which was cut away from him to tell you that nothing the president just said was true. We got a big problem with suppression of speech in this country. And that's not going to go away now that Biden's president. And it might start affecting the left, because once you have, these companies have seen what they could get away with and how often they can get away with it. And they did it to someone that people hate, right? They started with Alex Jones. Now they went on to Trump. Who's next? Is it going to be when someone from the progressive left side tries to run against a centrist Democrat? They get blocked and silenced because they're not part of that infrastructure. We have a weird merger between the DNC and Hollywood and seemingly Wall Street, because they're funding it, but also the tech companies and also the media. And that's what also feels weird about the win, is that no matter how nice Biden is, you know that the DNC fucked over Bernie, it seems like, twice. So who's to say they couldn't or wouldn't do it to Trump if they could?
Well, you know what? I think it's Joe Jorgensen's fault. Now, I know if you're listening to this, you'll say, who the fuck is Joe Jorgensen? Joe Jorgensen is a libertarian who took that decided that, she's going to take 1.9% of the vote. 1.9% of the vote. And so if you're a Republican and you voted for Trump, blame Joe Jorgensen.
Nah.
Blame her. Nah,
you shouldn't do that.
Because she screwed it up.
Nah, dude, you can't do that. You can't do that. The Democrats were blaming the Jill Stein for Trump winning, but I mean, you got to provide a better option. If not, there are third parties that act as a protest candidate. And if their platform gets adopted into the platform of one of the parties that they swing towards, then that's good on the party. But if it doesn't, the people will vote to the third party just as a middle finger, or just a here's my views, and they weren't properly represented.
Tim, Chris, I can't believe you said that. After all of this shitting we did on Kanye, we should have got Kanye on the bill. We should have gotten Kanye on every state then. We should have made sure that Kanye had his voice out there.
Well, that's
Joe Jurgensen's out there. Kanye needed to be out there as well.
Well, you're talking about third parties and alternative platforms. It's very hard. Like the Green Party, which is the number 4 party in the country, essentially, and one of the top 2 minor parties with the Libertarians, is not even on the ballot in all 50 states. It's only on the ballot. So they could technically get an electoral win. Could they landslide all the states, which will never happen? But the only party that is on the ballot in all 50 states that's a minor party is the Libertarian Party. And they just got that recently. So the barrier to entry with all of this is so hard because you would have to register and file and pay the fees and have some sort of infrastructure in 50 at least different places.
That's right. It's very hard. And that goes back to what I mentioned
51.
before. 51, yeah. And that's and including Puerto Rico, including all of these other territories that we do own. But aside from that, though, and that's why I say we're only, we are 2-party Democratic government. So it really doesn't lend to a whole bunch of ideological ideas. And that primarily, if you just focus on the numbers, it primarily makes us polarized, right or left, left or right, which, brings me obviously to what my point was in the very beginning when I started, figuring out who and what to vote for because I am an independent. Now, everyone knows this who knows me, that I'm an independent. So it's suffice to say that when it came down to voting, the first persons to attack me was my family. Shout out to the Battle family.
Yes.
Shout out to the Battle family.
George, you probably deserved it for something else, though.
Yeah. Don't bring up the past. But still, they were the ones who called me out. They said, Dad, ex-wives, all of them.
That's a coalition, George. That's a tough coalition.
That's a caucus right there. Who'd you vote for? Who would you vote for? Because we know how you are. And what did I tell them? I told them this. I said, I want you to know that I didn't vote my pockets.
I voted for Kanye.
And I decided not to vote for the devil himself. So instead, what I did is I voted for Sleepy Joe and the black woman.
Because, is that what the ballot said?
That's what I translated the ballot into that. Okay. I translated. Now the only negative connotation in that statement is Sleepy Joe, which I still believe. The black woman is a fact, but the Sleepy Joe part of it is the only negative connotation in that statement. Sleepy Joe and the black woman.
It is. By the way, it's so powerful how Trump brands people because he got to the point where he wasn't even calling her Crooked Hillary. He was just calling her Crooked. And people still use Crooked Hillary to describe I've heard it on the news.
By the way, and I know this. I know. There's no way you could preface this, not to sound racist, but of course you're going to make a racist statement when you say this. Of course. But did anybody kind of get a little chuckle when Biden was introducing Kamala with okay, the first black woman of color, the first this, the first that, just all these little categories that she was in. It's like, could she have enough categories thrown at her? And it's like, and I brought that up to my wife and mother-in-law. Of course, I got Tim, you're just a sexist pig for thinking that or whatever.
Which is probably true.
But at least SNL, got me, or at least had my back this week because they were sitting there, they were doing a parody of it, and I think the line that Maya Rudolph was saying, with the person who plays Kamala on SNL, she was sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, I have more boxes next to my name than a disqualified ballot." I go, good. I'm not the only one with a warped sense of humor.
But Tim, here's the thing about it. It's a time in history.
Yeah,
That's a hit. Now, again, it goes back to what I had said earlier. For one night,
correct.
Obama was the first black president. The next morning, he was the same thing.
But she's not the president. She's the VP, so she can talk that shit until she gets to presidency.
Yeah, but it still doesn't matter because she's still the first black vice president. First.
Does that matter? Since we had on the woman front it matters, but Obama was a president.
Matters,
What's
bro. It always matters.
Well, hold on. We've had black presidents, but we've got the first black treasurer. Stop the press. This is breaking news. These things are less shocking over time.
I know because you're
and they're
white.
less inspiring and too.
Because you're white. Because you're white. Black people still
Brian,
want to hear this because we still have more bridges to cross.
Okay.
We still have more
I hear what
hurdles.
you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
We still have more hurdles to jump. So for us black people, it's meaningful to us. It's important to us.
George, I do like what you said about there was one night, okay, celebrate, you have one night, and that really does come down to the presidency itself. I think you've got 1 year. I think you've got 1 year to sit there and do whatever you're going to do, but you're going to have one issue, and after that issue is going to sit there and dominate most of your presidency. Because then you got the midterms, and then you got to sit there and you got a campaign off of that, and then before you know it, you got re-election. So I think, with Trump, it was like right out the gate. When he came out, it was his policy about the travel bans and whatever, and that dominated the first half of his presidency. And then then came the midterms, which he lost because then he got impeached. So I think you've got maybe one or two issues that you can sit there and get out there, and then that's it. And that's pretty much your presidency right there. So he's got to. Hopefully he's got to come out of the door swing, and then he's got coronavirus on top of that to try to solve.
Now, Tim, and you're absolutely right, but I think you're forgetting something very important to his base. Trump talked a lot of shit, but to his base, he did everything he said he was going to do, and that's important to your base. He told his base right up, "I'm going to get rid of Obamacare." Every minute of the day, he worked at it. Right out the gate, he said, "I'm going to make a wall. I'm going to build a wall." Every day, he talked about that fucking wall. And at the end of the day, it was the Democrats. So to his base, remember, and he's not talking to me. He's not talking to you. He's talking to his base. And for his base, he's done everything that he said he was going to do. Unlike most politicians. You see, for us, that's black people, Democrats, whatever you want to call it, whoever they are, they get pandered to. They get, for elections, they get, "Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, we're going to do that." And then 2 months down the line, crickets. Right. What about this? "Oh, we have to wait until this." No, Trump, he made sure his base was taken care of. And that's the reason why 70 million people showed up and showed out for him. And that's not to be fucked with.
Right. Yeah. And that's the gripe that progressives currently have with the centrist Democrats, is that they keep electing these tepid people who are stock politicians who might do exactly what you just saying. They're saying, well, why don't you just let us have a chance to run hard with it? Because at least we'll try to do what we said we're going to do to our base. At least something will happen instead of nothing. So as much as, people are offended by Trump, it is anomalous that he got shit done that he said he would. Right. And he was desperate to keep fulfilling those promises.
So the question becomes is the agenda, the ideology. See, this is where the line is cut in the sand. It's the ideology, because there are people who believe in that ideology, and it's something to be contended with. Some people don't believe in the ideology, but that's how America is built, for us to be able to have difference of opinions. Right. That's why it doesn't matter to me your politics. If your politics does not is not intermingled with racism, if your politics is not intermingled with sexism, if your politics is intermingled with classism, then I don't have a problem with it, because it just becomes politics. And that's okay. That's why I don't have a problem with Republicans. I don't have a problem with Democrats or Libertarians or the Green Party. The Tea Party, maybe them motherfuckers I do got a problem with. But But other than that, though, I'm okay. Let's have a conversation. And that, my friend, is where Biden has to come to the table eventually.
Yeah.
He has to come to the table, and he has to figure out something that is common between us all. And he has to figure that out, or do what Trump did. Fuck him.
He won't do that, but the problem will be the opposite. The problem will be that weird feeling that was in your stomach that night, or when we didn't know what was going on, or the feeling like everyone lost, that feeling that it's not just going to be the right-wing side now that is resentful of a potential Obama situation. It's now going to be the progressives as well. Because so you're going to potentially have a weird situation in which both ideological halves of the country are dissatisfied at the same time. So as much as we want to say that, oh, how wonderful it is that Joe Biden smiles and reads nicely off the teleprompter, the underbelly of left and right bubbling up in terms of potential dissatisfaction here is through the roof.
Well, did Biden, aside from the coronavirus, I think that's the only thing he's really promised to tackle. Did he really make any hard promises during the campaign?
He didn't say hardly anything.
I don't think
he wasn't even there.
I mean, other than he said he'll do a better job than Trump. I mean, other than that.
But he didn't have to.
He doesn't say anything. He's a politician.
He doesn't have to, because all he had to do was continue to focus on Trump. You see, this is the part that it gets real sticky with the politics.
Right.
Tim, great point. No, he didn't say shit. All he did say was, look at the website, look at the policy. That's all the fuck he said.
And he didn't even know what the website was called.
You see? So basically, you're right, Tim. No, he didn't have anything. But what he did have was the sentiment.
Yeah.
He had the sentiment of the American people who disliked Trump. You see?
Trump was good in a time of chaos to break up the stagnation, but in a time of chaos, Trump wasn't. Trump's energy was maybe not required or wanted.
And I'm going to make a prediction here. And I know my Democratic friends are going to hate this. I don't care. I know my family is going to speak out. I don't care. If we lose some subscriptions, I don't care. I'm going to tell you this. If the coronavirus did not happen, Trump would have won this time.
Yeah, I would have.
Yes.
Guaranteed, 110%.
Yeah.
Trump would have won.
And strongly.
Yes. If we didn't have the coronavirus, if that was what sabotaged his. Now, keep in mind, it was the Obama administration that set this up, because he came into an economic uphill. He came into a very strong economy. Now, I'm not going to let Trump take the credit for it, but he did sustain it, which is important.
And grow it.
But it was the momentum of the Obama administration that gave him that push, much like his father did when he gave him that money to start his business.
It was only a small loan, George.
It was $1 million. Somebody could give me $1 million any day. Let them know, ladies and gentlemen, out there in podcast lands, if you want to give me $1 million to start a real estate company, I guarantee you I will make that happen. I will make it successful. Okay, thank you very much. Just as a side, but put your names.
I'll post in the comments. I'll post my my Bitcoin account, so you can put that
there
in my
go.
account.
I'm gonna start.
I promise nothing. I promise absolutely nothing.
I'm gonna start a
And I
GoFundMe
promise if you give me $1 million, I'll do like Joe Biden's son and blow it on hookers and cocaine.
That's it. But mate, you got to videotape it, and you got to have pictures, and you got to put it on a hard drive and put it somewhere so that somebody else can pick it up, find it, pay for it. Yeah, okay. Hey, what? You guys are fucking up fucking up my point. Okay. You see what happens. You see. So basically, if we're going to go this direction, then let it be. It doesn't. What I'm saying here is this: the American people right now, we are the most polarized that we've ever been, and for good reason. Either you like them or you hate them. That's it. But it's not enough to build a government on, people. Right, it's not enough. It's not enough to tear up some shit for it. I went to the bank a week before the election, and they had already put cardboard and 4x4 platforms, plywood, thank you, plywood over the windows a week before the election.
And that's because Trump might have won. not in anticipation of him losing.
And that's exactly what I said to the guy. I said, "You guys think he's going to win?" That's what I said to the security guard when I walked. It was a week before the election. I said, "Oh shit, you guys think he's going to fucking win, huh?" He said, "We're bracing. We're bracing." That's what the security guard said at the Wells Fargo. So but I'm telling you guys, it ain't over. It ain't over. And I'm hoping, of course, that the American people find the common ground. This is what I was saying. Biden. What the fuck was that?
Biden, yeah.
What the fuck?
Freudian, George?
Freudian slip? Is that what that was? Biden?
Biden.
Well, it might as well be, because that's what he's going to be. But Biden, Biden needs to, at some point, I believe, whether he does it or not, because he doesn't have to. He got 4 years, whether we like it or not. He could do a Trump and just hope he's going to win. But it's got to be enough, though, to win, because I'm going to call it, Trump is going to be back. And if he could have won without the coronavirus, 4 years away from the coronavirus, 4 years away from now, the coronavirus will be old news, and we would have moved on, and we will see this fucker again. And he's going to make sure that his presence is known. So those of you all out there who are listening, 75 days for this president to be president. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will take the helm of running this country. It better be good. And in the words of my, I got to wait for that one. I lost my thought. My thought.
George, can I say, because I think we've been shitting on Biden because it's kind of funny, like left, right, or center. Whenever someone mentions him, they just like laugh about it, or they call him old or irrelevant. But can I say some positive things about Biden and/or a Biden administration?
Absolutely.
Besides the temperament issues, which we know are good, he seems like a nice person, and it seems like someone that's really hard to dislike. There are also positives administration-wise. I'll give you a little small one, right? Like, he has talked about working with all sorts of people and building a coalition. And obviously, although the DNC had their favorites, we did see a lot of young and energy in those Democratic primaries, which were long and extensive. And you take someone like Andrew Yang, who wants to be involved, and he has specifics which politicians don't usually offer. So Andrew Yang specifically. This might seem like a little detail or irrelevant to some people, but in the world of pro wrestling, wrestlers don't have a union. Trump was buddies with Vince McMahon, so they were never going to get a union. And unlike SAG and AFTRA and all these other places that do have unions, they don't. And they put their bodies on the line. And Andrew Yang, who looks like he's going to get a little spot in the Biden administration, has said he's going to go after that. So that's a positive change I think could happen for our country. Sometimes unions are not a good thing. In this case, the situation is so exploitative that even if a union doesn't develop, they need some sort of national representation, because it is an American industry that sort of looked at as lower class, but because of that, we don't get offended when bad things happen to them, and unfortunately they do often. So that I'm very positive about. Also, on a side note, kind of a weird note, even though she's old, I find his wife pretty hot. I don't know why. Every time I see her, I think she's, for an old woman, I think she's beautiful.
Is she the first one with a doctorate, I think, in the White House, or first woman with the doctorate? I mean, Hillary had a law degree, so yeah. I mean, there was that. But I mean,
Oh yeah. I'm not just saying she should only be judged on her looks. I'm saying, I don't know. I got a weird thing where I'm strangely finding an old woman hot. That's all I'm saying.
Well, all right then.
You're fringing out, bro. You're fringing out. That's it. Okay.
Well, we could be reaching out to older women on this podcast. I don't know what our demographics are, but Chris is single, so if you're an older woman,
that's it.
Look, if you've had a hip replacement or two,
Social Security checks. Hey, my boy Chris is available. He's available. Yeah,
I'm AARP lover on Plenty of Fish.
I love it, man. Well, listen, you know what? This where we are is where we are, and I'm so glad that we decided to have the show today, guys. It's been we've covered quite a bit, and we have we still have a lot unknown. I just want to commend the American people. Those are people who are listening. Make sure you share this with your friends. This conversation. Make sure you subscribe to our station, and get something out of this conversation. This is probably one of the realest conversations you're going to have between individuals who are bipartisan, except for Tim. But for all intents and purposes, Tim will shit on a Democrat as well. So, shout out to Tim, the Iceman.
Yeah, he was probably raised in the most conservative place of all of us.
That's right. And yeah, absolutely, out there in the IE. But this conversation is the purest conversation, that you're probably going to hear about our system, our government, and how it plays off. Now, we may come off a little brash, we may make jokes, but it's not to offend. It's really to allow the conversation to flow in a way that's comfortable for us. When I call the president something, or when I call the vice president something, it's not that I'm disrespecting it. I understand it and I appreciate it for what it's worth. One thing's for sure is it's hard. It's very hard to change the Constitution. That's why Trump can't decide that he's going to be president forever, because he could very well say that. But the Constitution is what we stand on, and this is not this is not a moment of kumbaya. We still got a long fucking way to go when it comes to these things, but we're going to do our best at American Lunch Podcast to give you guys the real shit, to give it from the perspective of both the intelligence, both the critical, and obviously both from our perspective, And I want to thank Chris. I want to thank Chris, and I want to thank Tim, and you could thank, of course, me, Battle, for putting ourselves on the line. There's some people that won't have these conversations.
Right, and history. The one important thing is that we're talking to each other, and history is replete with people who just want to grab the levers of power and to then spite the person on the other side, and that's a cycle that we need to break. Whoever gets in charge in the future or now.
So well, if you're listening to this for the first time, tell your friends about us. If you are just one of those folks who listen to us all the time, hey, huge shout out to the fans that we have already. But we got to brace ourselves, and we got to learn how to do this. And when this show gets to be a point where it gets to be syndicated and we're on major networks and people are calling us to speak, they're going to look back at these shows and to hear what we are. And my hope is, of course, that we don't change our views, that we make sure that if we do, we say we change them. We don't just flip-flop like politicians and shit when it comes to making sure that we stay online with what we believe in, And I believe that we say things that we believe. I believe that, So, guys, we've been going for an hour or so, over an hour, and I think we're not in that Joe Rogan shit. We haven't reached the Joe Rogan hours yet, but we're almost there. Is there any last words? These are not shout outs. These are last words, guys. Any last words about where we are, what the future is, how we're looking? Chris, what do you think?
No, it's just that the show was so long that I'm starting to actually fit into this shirt.
Wow! Shout out to the shirt man who's taking a beating over there. Shout out to the
like
shirt.
America, which it represents. It has been resilient and held together through some pretty difficult times. Seems like it's about to pop moments, but we keep holding it together.
The question is will you fit in that shirt in 4 years when we have this conversation again?
I think there's going to be a lot of healthy changes after this week in my life going forward.
Good. Oh, good deal. What about you, Tim? Any last words?
I don't really have any last words. I actually had a shout out prepared. I was just gonna say shout out to Alex Trebek, who passed away this morning. I know it's kind of ended on a down note, but I have always enjoyed the show. I thought it was a great show. It's one of the very few kind of a raw reality show, game show thing that was I think kind of built more a little higher educational, a little higher end. and I think it challenged the American public to go out there and think a little harder and look at what's possible. And I think it's been I think the show has been a show that's been enjoyed by multiple generations. And I'm really sad to see Alex go. And he passed away from, I think it was pancreatic cancer. Finally lost the battle with it this morning. And hey, hats off to him and hats off to his family. And I'm not sure who's going to replace him. I'm sure they are, because the show's very profitable and very popular. But I hope that the next replacement's able to do the show just as well as he has for the last 20 or 30 years.
Amen.
Amen. You know what? And speaking about Alex, man, and what he's given to the American television, and I love how that show has evolved over the years to include so many different avenues. I mean, the show has just been so consistent, but yet has evolved. It's the classic example of how TV should work. And shout out to Alex, his family, from American Lunchbox Podcast. Of course, we send our love to him, and we appreciate his contribution.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We talk about legacy work, right? Because we're not special. We think we're special, but we're not special. It's the work that we do becomes legacy and special, but we're not special, and I believe that. So big ups to Alex for making a difference and putting something that has lasted almost a lifetime, for him as he has molded that show. I can't say enough.
Yeah, and so shout out to Centrum Silver for always flipping the bill.
Centrum Silver for flipping the bill.
Gold Bond. You remember those Jeopardy commercials?
Oh, yeah. Again, consistent. They stayed with him all these years. You're right. The Gold Bond, because he knew his target market. He knew his target. He knew his target
Dr.
market.
Scholes.
He knew his target market. They knew already who was keeping them, in business. Good, those Andy Griffin years and all of that shit. They knew. They know. They know, actually, man. You know already who I'm talking about. And big ups. And they gonna call you. Some of the ladies are gonna be calling you after this show.
It's true.
So
I'll take Chris for 1,000, please.
I'll take Chris living in. Wait, I can't see that. Let me put my glasses on. Alex, I'll take Chris living in Queens for 1,000.
Chris is the daily double.
So big up to Alex Trebek, man.
Yeah,
and that. And so anyway, guys, we've been going for a while.
Can I do a quick shout out, George?
Yeah, absolutely. Hit us up, because Tim didn't listen to the rules of the fucking thing I just said, so he gave a shout out anyway, of course, because he's the Iceman. But so yes, now it's time for the shout outs.
Okay, the Iceman thawed a little today. He didn't shit on any dead people. He actually bigged them up. Yeah, my shout out today is actually kind of a masturbatory one. For those who don't know, I have another podcast called The Sleepy Time Stenographer. And it's a lot different than this show. First of all, we don't have the tech wizardry of Tim, so it is a audio podcast only. But it's also a lot less cutting edge in terms of. I feel like I'm shitting on the show. It's a lot more of a deeper, creative type of dive. It's a lot less relevant to politics. You're not going to hear any opinions like that. But what you will hear is this: for the last 10 years, I've been recording my dreams. I wake up in the middle of the night and audio record my dreams. And I can't remember what these dreams are when I wake up. So when I listen to them back, some are like just random, but some are actually kind of cool. They have like story arcs and plot development and character development. And some of them are based on, fears, but some of them are based on adventure stuff. So there's different even genres that I have. I kind of dream in pictures and storylines. And what I do on the show is play the dreams. And then me and a buddy usually just rip on me about it, for being like,
what the
How
fuck
could
were
you have
drinking?
thought that? That was weird. You weirdo. So if you like that opportunity to laugh at me, check it out, The Sleepy Time Stenographer. And also, George, I want to give you a quick shout out because through doing the co-hosting role on this show, I've learned how to be more concise with my language. And I noticed on the early podcast episodes of that show, I would say, So I really have studied you as a host in listening back to the show. And I think I've improved myself as a broadcaster from that. And you guys are invited on the show anytime if you want to rip on what weird shit I was thinking about in the middle of the night.
Okay, so just for tell us again what the name of the show. Say it slowly. We're gonna put it down in the description as well. But could you say it one more time for us?
Okay, yeah, it's the Sleepy Time, one word, Sleepy Time stenographer, like a courtroom stenographer.
Got it.
So, and it's not as frequent as this show. It's probably I'll try to go twice a month with it. And it's really irreverent and irrelevant in a way, but just trying to have a laugh and be a little self-analytical.
All right. Well, we'll definitely put that in the description, and we look forward to checking that out. And thank you for the compliment. I received that. I'm doing my best to get better and better every show at being a host. This is my first run at it, but I feel confident.
Great.
Thank you. But it's the company that I keep, guys. You guys make me better at this. It's the comfortability that I have in order to get out what my points are. But thank you so much again for the compliment. And I just to speak on your show, it wouldn't be surprised if you guys listen to that podcast, you hear some plots maybe that you all have seen in the movies before, maybe like Christopher Nolan, like Tenet, something like that, Okay. Maybe not. I'm just throwing it out.
No, that happens too. Yeah, there's all sorts of weird stuff that happens, and I've gotten better at, because the thing is, it slips from your mind. You'll forget what you dreamed about very rapidly. So I've gotten better at getting it all out there before I forget. The early recordings were me forgetting the dream as I was trying to remember it. But I've actually gotten better at that.
So, speaking of Tenet, before we go, did you guys see that movie yet, Tenet?
Yeah, a few times.
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay. Chris, when you get a chance, please take a look at that.
Okay.
I won't say that be the next podcast, but let's talk about that movie. I want to take some of the air out of this podcast with politics and stuff, but we're gonna figure out what direction we're gonna go in, ladies and gentlemen. But that movie is a good movie for us to break down and talk about in the future. So, any event, no shout outs for me, guys. Other than the shout outs I made to the American people for being patient.
Other than your shout out to your family of back off.
Yeah. Dude, that's another podcast, bro. That's what happens when you have adult children with their own brain. I mean, they forget that I raised them. I actually fed them, change their diapers, make sure that they had food on the table, make sure they had heat, and they talk to me like this. That's another podcast, bro. That's another podcast. I love them. They are the reason that I am today. But boy, they hard on their dad, man. They're hard on their dad and ex-husband. They hard, man. Politically, they don't respect me, man. Good thing I got somebody in my corner now that really does that, But hey, right now, bro, it's all good, But anyway, I'll let you guys, we're going to wrap it up, man. It's been a wonderful podcast. Thank you guys for hanging out with me for almost 2 hours, man. We won't ever say it'd be this long, but we needed to be able to get this shit out and to make sure that you all understood reasons why. So it's really 2 podcasts in 1 podcast. All right?
Daily double.
Daily double. Alex Trevette. All right? So anyway, we're done, man. We'll see you guys next time on American Lunchbox Podcast. Peace.